What's the most insane rich person behavior you've ever seen? Some honeymoon clients insisted that they would not sleep on a mattress that someone else had slept on, so we had to buy a new mattress for each hotel they stayed in. Each mattress cost over $5,000 and they stayed at 5 hotels. They used each mattress for a couple of nights only, and then we had to remove the mattress from the hotel and dispose of it. What mattress is that expensive? A Simmons mattress. Specifically the Bowtierist Premium Custom Royal Mattress. King size version. Seen on P7 of this PDF catalog. 594,000 JPY. Which is around 5,680 per mattress. Not even the most expensive mattress they sell. And you threw them away? My cheap ass would have taken that speep home. Fortunately, disposing of them did not mean throwing them away but finding a new home for them. For we sold for a price the buyer was very happy with, and one went free to one of my colleagues, who did not care that a fat Saudi prince had slept on it already. Of course, the royal honeymoon couple had been charged for the mattresses anyway, so although the whole thing was a pita and a horrible waste of money, it all worked out in the end. Awesome. A client we had years ago told us that he downgraded his private 747 to a 737 because he didn't like the way the chandeliers rattled on takeoff. I appreciate this man's taste in light fixtures. Flight fixtures FTFY. Was in Las Vegas, and at the casino I went to, there was a portion of the high rollers area that you could see. It was just slot machines. The slot machines were 100 a play. I watched as an otherwise ordinary looking older lady played the slot the way my grandmother played the penny slots. In the few minutes I was watching, she dropped enough money to buy my truck, and I don't think she blinked. Just trying to feel something. Macau has billionaires playing poker against each other, trading million hands, and you do wonder if they feel anything if it's still chump change. Like, how much do they have to win/lose for it to hurt? This guy cutting me off on the street, ramming the right side of my car. We got out of the car and this guy just handed me a 6,500 check without discussing. The damage he caused was only 200. Damn. Sounds like the person may have just not wanted to deal with the legal/insurance issues, so he just paid it off instead. But a 6,300 profit for you. Damn lols. He was probs drunk. I knew a guy that bought a building just so he could evict the person renting space there. Yes. It was all inherited money, and yes, everybody f***ing hated that guy. Undefined. Second thing, I never met the guy that got evicted. Apparently he wasn't respectful enough and had to be taught a lesson. Hated the guy who bought the building or the guy being evicted? I need to know this too. Guy hosting a private music festival on his land had his car keys taken off of him for being too drunk to drive. He disappeared, and then 20 minutes later a very low-flying helicopter goes overhead, pretty much clipping the treetops, swerving about all over the sky. It gets lower and dumps down a bit too fast on the ground. Engines cut out and out. He gets flipping everyone off as he heads back towards his house. Pure crazy. No comments. Everyone just out of words. My dad, when we still had a relationship, saw fines not as punishments but as the payment to be able to do things others cannot. I had an economics professor basically say the same thing. Like, if you run enough red lights, then all you're really doing is paying a small fee for the ability to do so when you eventually get caught. My area has a river, and lots of wealthy people have huge houses near to the river. According to state law, riverbanks are public property and cannot be cleared down to the water. but rich people love their views and sometimes try to illegally clear. The fines for this can be in the 5 figures. There's one dickbag who pays something like 30,000 in fines every year just to be able to see across the river to the trees on the other side. Eventually you'd think the state would get an injunction against him and then send his ass to prison, but apparently that's not how it works. I've been kayaking past his house for a decade and every year it's been freshly mowed right down to the water. Why would they send him to prison? It's a free 30,000 a year. Agreed. The city probably loves that he keeps doing it so that they can keep getting paid. I mean, he's literally paying for someone's salary. I'd go up and thank him one day after work. Excuse me, sir. I made this cake for you. I just wanted to thank you. Since you cut down those trees annually. I have a stable job. Thanks. Can I get a raise for increasing the penalty? I worked at a summer camp that had a lot of wealthy families' children attending. At the request of the parents, a helicopter pad was installed nearby so that they didn't have to drive the 2 hours to see their kids at the end of camp. I assume that this was paid for by one of the parents, but can't say for sure. Additionally, many of these parents would tip the camp counselors that looked after their kids for the summer. While I never got anything, my kids were on scholarship. Some friends of mine were tipped Mabuke airs, hundreds of dollars, and plane tickets to come visit and stay with the families whenever they wanted. Sometimes from crazy distances, like flying an Australian to LA. That really is wasteful. You can land a helicopter in a field, but you get your shoes dirty in a field. Not if you have your servants carry you. Not me, but one of my wife's colleagues had a daughter who had chosen to get married at a local venue that about 3 months before the wedding happened to appear as a location in a very well-known series of movies about a certain boy wizard. Well, about a month before the wedding they had a call from the venue asking if they'd mind moving their wedding back a month. Naturally they said no. All the invites had been sent. Family were coming from various international locations and had booked flights and accommodation, etc., etc. To cut a long story short, they did end up moving their wedding back a month. Why? Because the person wanting their venue had a child who was besotted with said boy wizard, and their birthday happened to fall on the original wedding weekend, and wanted their birthday party to be at that location. They agreed only after the rich person offered to pay for their wedding, but also the cost of rearranging all the flights, accommodation, florists, photographers, and all the other associated costs, and the mortgage on their recently bought house. It ran to 100,000s, but to the rich people was apparently water off a duck's back. Winner. Imagine, instead of sweating making a monthly payment for a school loan, that you could just be, we need this venue for a birthday party for one day for I'll drop 100,000 to rearrange everything so we can have this one day. The kid probably won't even appreciate the birthday party as he gets older. Sad noises. Some high-profile guy reserved 2 entire high-speed train wagons for himself. His family and his bodyguards, the other passengers who already paid, had to leave, and before that tried to pay a high school friend of mine something like 5,000/10,000 for her to spend 2 weeks with his daughter so she wouldn't feel alone during their holidays in the local ski resort. She did it right? Not that I remember. We went to a boarding high school 2 hours away from the resort she lived in, and I don't think she missed a day of school. On the other hand, I recall she showed the girl around and other things on weekends. So maybe she got some cash and or freebies like drinks in clubs and other speeps. I didn't really care about things like that at that time, so I didn't bother her too much on details. Honestly, if I was offered 10K, I'd be worried the guy would want me to do more than just ski with his daughter. Honestly, that's where I thought that's as headed. Rich guy giving young girl a lot of money. My brain went to sugar daddy and then I saw to be friends, and honestly that's like really plausible to me. Sad for the girl though. Not having any real friends. I worked at a country club. One of my co-workers lost his apartment because of some fire. One of the members, just one, paid for a 6-month lease and replaced everything the co-worker lost in the fire. Blew my mind. I like this one. Not all rich people are jerks. Oh, this was easily one of my favorite jobs. I was a caddy and all the avid golf members knew me personally. Each semester of college another member would offer to pay for my books. Some asked if I needed extra work. And other would tip me $100 cash if I was having a slow week, etc. Like these people really cared about the staff. Worked at a luxury brand jewelry store. Chinese woman comes in with her husband in a pissy mood. Walked right past me when I greeted them. Undeterred, I followed them and continued to make conversation. She starts asking questions about things in cabinet. Bought everything I pointed to without looking at price tag or batting an eyelid. Bought over $33K in less than 10 minutes. However, once I started gift wrapping everything, her and her husband sat there demanding free things and threatened not to give us business again unless we produce the best, most expensive freebie we could. Management team literally scrambled to give her a bunch of free stuff. $33K isn't much in luxury retail. But every single one of her visit over the years has been apparently big ticket, so it adds up, lol. What was the value of the stuff she got for free? It was about $1,000 from memory. Homewares and things like that. Had to keep emphasizing how special and rare they were. My friend's dad got a summer tennis membership at this fancy club because his kid played on the club's traveling team JRS. Could play for basically nothing. He got invited to play poker with the guys on a random Wednesday and they sat down and decided to order some wine. The waiter hands the list over to one of the old guys and the guy says no. Show us the real wine list. Sure enough, there was a very bougie version that was by special request. Ever since my friend told me that story, I have always wondered what special privileges exist for these PPL, if you know to ask. The co-founder of Microsoft had a 414-foot-long mega yacht with a basketball court on one of the decks. Every now and again a basketball would go overboard. So what did he do? Hired a guy to follow the yacht in a smaller boat to pick up the basketballs that escaped. That's crazy. But at the same time I commend his effort to avoid littering. I mean, a net of some sort would do the same. I guess that's not aesthetically pleasing. One of the owners of the company I worked for was looking at his bank statement and saw some extra fees that he thought were excessive. So he called the bank to see what it was all about. I guess the person at the bank couldn't explain the reason for fees. Was short with him. And wouldn't waive them. So he decided to close all his accounts with that bank, which involved paying off the rest of his multi-million-dollar mortgage in cash. So, he basically had enough cash sitting in his checking account to pay off his full mortgage, but preferred to take out a mortgage rather than pay for his house in cash. When the mortgage department at the bank realized what happened and how much interest income they were going to lose out on, they tried to get him to come back and refinance. But he said no. Same person also accidentally received a neighbor's Bloomingdale's bills in the mail. The store had the address wrong, didn't read the name on the bill and assumed it was his wife's, and paid that bill for years. So he ended up paying thousands of dollars of his neighbor's shopping bills without knowing. And when they figured it out, he told the neighbor to consider it their Christmas present. At least he was nice about it. My friend scored a brand new stainless steel 6-burner oven on Facebook Marketplace for pennies on the dollar because some rich people bought a summer house in a nearby wealthy tourist town and didn't like the appliances because they were the wrong color. They sold them all for well under what they were worth and bought all new ones. The ones that came with the house hadn't ever been used. It had been renovated prior to sale and everything was brand new. Rich people will sell you a 1000 audio setup for 5 because they don't want to take it across the country, but you go to a garage sale in a poor neighborhood and you find a can of vintage Kraft Parmesan cheese for 35. I'm not wealthy. But I've moved 3-bedroom flat worth of stuff from one city to another. Next time I'll move, I'll just sell everything for pennies and buy new furniture. It was not worth the time and effort. Yes. You've guessed it. I have cheap IKEA furniture. An international student from my partner's university bought a plane ticket from Spain to Canada to go to a music festival with some friends. She bought it on a Thursday. The festival was the next day and she would be back on Sunday. First class ticket. There was definitely a lot of digits in that purchase. Casually crossing the Atlantic to see some friends this weekend. I work for a fancy pizza shop and I've seen people call in to order over 300 worth of pizza to pick up. They come from other cities and want it ready when they arrive. I watched a man eat one small slice from each of the 12 pizzas he ordered, then throw the rest out in our garbage bin. We assumed he was taking it home to a party or to his employees or something, but nope. He just wanted to try every topping combination. Left a 100 tip though, so that was nice. Guy smashed his controller and when I was like, he just said he'd get a new one tomorrow morning. Speep, it took me 2 months to save up enough to replace my Joy-Cons. I will say Joy-Cons are extremely expensive for how prone to breaking they are. Stick drift cough without a super good or affordable repair method. I had a friend who had to be rescued from kidnappers by the State Department. He went on vacation. He was there several months, somewhere like Cambodia or something. He spent all his time doing drugs and going to clubs, so inevitably someone gets the idea to kidnap him. He wound up locked in a shack sobering up while they demanded money. Whoever manages his trust was well connected enough to make some calls and the kidnappers let him go when a local dignitary showed up with a FPP of personal security. I worked at one of the top resorts in the Maldives. The rich and famous came for holidays. Some in private jets. One family had a super yacht just parked year-round to use for the one time a year they visited. I got 2,000 tips. Guys coming with Instagram models, virgin hookers, mistresses, etc. Loads of stories, but I'm too hungover to detail them. If I get enough interest, then maybe I'll elaborate. Please. In college, among our small group of undergrads, all driving cars that are worth less than $2,000. One of the guys from a very well-off family daily drove multiple 200,000 cars to small local college. Was lecturing us on how so-and-so has bad tires. And so-and-so is irresponsible for getting a ticket for a broken window on a car he had to borrow because his died. And why all of us broke college kids need to fix this and that on our cars, and it's only $1,000 to do this or that. He explains how it is no big deal because he did 6 figures of damage to a supercar and repaired it no problem, so why can't we get tires or glass? Like, don't you have a room full of spare tires/wheels and parts for your car?